Oh, thank you.
Live, mics are working.
Behave yourselves.
Mics are working, mics are working.
The mics are hot. Oh, my. We don't have to push.
Don't mess with it.
Our papers are always a mess when I come in here because I go through them before the meeting and they get all. I can't ever keep.
One of the few things I
Yeah.
go through them and then put them right.
And in the meeting, I'm fumbling all over this. Where's that? Try to keep it fine.
7. You guys ready? Yep. Good evening. I'd like to call the Ferrysburg City Council meeting to order. Monday, March 6, 2023, 7 p.m., Ferrysburg City Hall. Roll call, please.
Mayor Blease,
Here.
Councilmember O'Donnell,
Here.
Councilmember Carlson,
Here.
Councilmember Montgomery,
Here.
Councilmember Sias,
Here.
Councilmember Murdoch, here, Councilmember Kate.
Here.
Please rise for the invocation by Councilmember Kate, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please pray with me. Gracious God, we stand before you as if we were beggars with nothing in our hands that you could possibly want. And yet we turn to you for everything. So we ask your blessings tonight. Give us your wisdom, your guidance, and your love as we endeavor to do the best we can for the city of Ferrysburg. In your name we ask it. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. Okay, number 5, public comments. This time on the agenda for any citizen, direct brief comments or questions to the city council. Time for public comments will be given when an agenda item is discussed. If you have a comment or a question, please raise your hand and be recognized by the mayor. After being recognized by the mayor, please give your name and address for the record and proceed with your comment or question. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Regina.
Regina Schoberg, 17542B Parkwood Drive. I want to thank you for looking at the ethics ordinance. I think it's really important these days. I believe Grand Haven is looking at having an ethics ordinance, and our state attorney general has also mentioned how important it is to close the loopholes. I don't agree with Dana Nessel on a whole lot, but I agree with her on this particular issue. I must say that there's been some misinformation that I think needs to be clarified. Misinformation item 1, there's been talk by 2 people about immediate dismissal. There is no immediate dismissal. There's a procedure that will be followed, Roman numeral 4 in the proposed ordinance. Most specifically, there is a complaint procedure, which is 32.91 under Roman numeral 4, where to seek review, a section that says under the same heading that outlines a procedure to appeal any kind of a ruling. So there's misinformation number 1 dispelled. Misinformation number 2, nasty Facebook comments. Well, I've been the butt of some of that myself, for sure. In actuality, the social media policy in this ordinance is in regard to people either seeking to speak for council or using city emails, city computers to do same or to slander or defame people. As far as your own individual Facebook pages, you can say whatever you want within the realms of defamation and slander. So misinformation number 2 dispelled. Misinformation number 3, Tim O'Donnell claims that all incidences of violations have been dealt with, and they have not. They have not since almost the beginning of time. I could tell you many a story. I've already outlined the story of the person who lied to the Planning Commission, and there was a boycott by council members, so we couldn't even discuss the issue. There are many other things that have happened recently, and I would ask you to just consider those and say, who doesn't want an ethics ordinance? As many of you said, if you've done nothing wrong, you have nothing to fear. So I would ask you to continue with this, adopt it as it's presented. There are all kinds of safeguards. This is not going to be a witch hunt. It isn't punishment. It's accountability. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, in the back there, you had your hand up next. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hi, my name's Don Grunewald. Does that work?
Yeah,
You're
just
okay? And I live at 16350 I just want to pass out a couple of visual aids, I guess. Photos. I'll come back. Baseline, I'm sure everybody's received their notice about how taxes are going up, assessments and all that kind of thing. Well, I'm not here to speak about that issue because we have much that we can do in that area. But one area I do think we can do something with expenditures. So I like to look at that side of the ledger. Example, what are the possibilities of looking at other government make purchases in bulk or something? Another thing I like to, what about depreciation? Now, a state, if I'm not mistaken, has a certain formula they look at for how long should we hang on to this vehicle before it's not worth our bother, it's cost too much to hang on to it. I don't know how long we depreciate our vehicles for, but it might be something to look at. Another thing, third point I'd like to get is perhaps consolidation of services. Now, we've done that with police patrol. We have Ottawa County coming in here and doing that. Where other places can we utilize something of that nature? And I'm going to raise, perhaps is a dirty word, merger. I think, and I lived in Muskegon County for like 40 years. Here with this area, I've only lived, and then Holiday Hills, and then I'm somewhat familiar with the area. And it's one thing that struck me so. Because, you know, the city's right here. Like, how does Grand Haven have to go way over to the other side and go through another city to do that? Why aren't we, you know, working together, and maybe we don't need to have all the little cities and stuff together? You know, I think a study, if someone could look at it and say, Spring Lake Township, there could be some economies of scale here. Where could we do something? Maybe even merge or something, or Grand Haven, both borders with us. And the thing I'd look to and think about is, okay, well, what about the history of Ferrysburg? I have respect for the history of Ferrysburg because I have to go home to a wife at night. His family has a city named after her family, so I know that that city is not, if she's got any comments, she'll let me know about that. But the other thing is, I want to speak to the issue of those now, on the first one, depending on which end you start at, the one depicts we're at 174th and Dogwood, just before you hit the pedestrian crosswalk there. If you're headed east, so you're going to turn right on 174th, you're from the western direction. See those big divots in it. Now, I think it's more than just like a manhole cover. If you're not paying attention, I mean, I could see repeated hits on that if somebody throw out their on their steering as far as your alignment on your car. And the thing I brought up about that, and I don't know what communication, how it works here at City Hall, but I stopped into City Hall going on a month or so ago and say, oh, granted it's winter, isn't there something that you can do, like say to paint around those two big divots there? Because you're coming up, you're looking at traffic, looking at pedestrians, that's kind of like the third thing, so something to draw your eye to it. I mean, like I'm driving back and forth about every day there, and I'm often at night too. Right, you know, you can either ride with both of them or cut between the two of them, but I thought maybe just a white mark so you can see that divot easier. And so the other thing, the other photo you see is that limb hanging. Now I worked in the state park system for most of my life, 30-some years. One of the things we're always looking at, what limbs are going to come down, because I found that some limbs you think, why isn't that thing come down? It stays up forever. And others come down and why did that thing come down? I've written incident reports on somebody that had, they're in the back of their vehicle, their SUV, the back hatchback up, the limb came down, smacked down, cracked the glass and everything like that. My concern is that picture that I took there, I stopped in about 2 weeks ago to say, hey, you know, we have a limb that's on 4th and Oak, right around the kitty corner from the post office and everything. That hangs down over the street. If you go to one direction there, it's not like it's gonna fork and catch other limbs. If that thing comes down, I mean, no, there's some liability there. I think I wouldn't want to turn it underneath there at all or anything like that. But the point of that is that I'm linking these two together, that the argument would be made that if we would merge with, say, Spring Lake Township or Grand Haven or talking about that, because that somebody might say, well, we're getting further away from the people. We want to be close to the people we serve. And I would say, well, I presented that at City Hall, and I mean, that was that close, and it's taken this long to get it accomplished anything on it. You know, what's the difference? That's the point I wanted to make about that. The thing about too is that you're looking at a bigger tax base. Where can we? I mean, we can't grow anymore. We can't get any more property here. That's industrial zone like Spring Lake Township has along over there. I mean, we don't have that. You know, where are we going to grow our money? I mean, like, unless you got, I mean, if the guys that are throwing up those McMansions along Lake Road there is like, you know, I don't think it's going to bother them that much. But I mean, the rest of us guys is like, well, you know, that's the, you know, it gets a little costly in that. Where can we? That's all I wanted to bring to your attention at all, is something to research, to look at. I mean, I think everything should be on the table as far as exploring that. I mean, Brad, you've been here, you've been residents here for a lot longer than I have or whatnot, and you respect the history of the place. I do that. But I still think that it's time to look at, you know, the big picture. Well, back to Smith Bridge debacle when former mayor signed on to that. How can we incur such a major liability of that nature? It's a budget buster. We couldn't take it. If we tried, you got to have somebody with deeper pockets to work on some of that issue. And that's all I have to say. Thanks for your time and trouble. And one other thing I did want to mention is that I think public service is one of the highest callings set. I salute you for being part of the council and whatnot to work on these. There's a lot of stuff where, you know, it's not fun stuff and it takes time and what. I can understand that. Pass that on to you. Thank you for your time and trouble.
Thank you.
May have exceeded 3 minutes.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
can I ask Craig something on
Sure.
this? Craig, looks like we repaved this. Does DPW have spacers for these manholes?
I believe so. We'll take a look at it.
Okay, thanks. So a spacer for these would just make them flush with the road.
Yeah, that's fine. I find that to be better solution. I was looking for the cheaper part.
Okay, any other public comments? Seeing none, moving on. 6, consideration for approval of consent agenda. A, approve the February 2023 City Council meeting minutes as printed. B, adopt a resolution for charitable gaming licenses for Walden Green School Foundation.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I'd like to move that we approve the consent agenda, approve the February 2023 City Council meeting minutes as printed, and B, adopt a resolution for charitable gaming licenses for Walden Green School Foundation.
Motion support, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. 7A, new business. Discussion, take action if appropriate, adopt ordinance 326, an ethics ordinance.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that we adopt the ordinance number 326, an ethics ordinance.
Seconded.
Okay, motion support, further discussion?
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Yes.
There is one correction on page 3, paragraph C, third line from the bottom. It talks about policy established by city council, city manager, or city department head concerned. We want to delete that word concerned. That's a typo.
Okay, all right, page 3, what number?
Paragraph C,
Oh, C,
third line from the bottom.
third line from the bottom, okay. City manager or city department head. Cross out concerned. Okay. Further discussion on the ordinance?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I did notice going through this that there is a bullet point that is missing that's in the employee manual that is not in this ordinance for the social media.
Okay.
That is, it'd fall under next after M. We are missing bullet point after the, creating the website and prior to the employee shall utilize the information system. There was a bullet point that states using images of any official city logo, patch, badge, or sign on personal web page is prohibited without the express written approval of the city or designate. I'd like to add that to make the social media complete.
Could you repeat that? I didn't, what you want?
If you go to the social media section of the ordinance,
All right, I don't have my charter, yeah.
this is the in the employee manual that has the 7.26.10 social media, and you go down to the whatever bullet point that would make. There's 2 bullet points on the first page, 2, 3. It'd be the 14th bullet point on the social media section.
Okay, Tim, can you read that again? You want to add it to M.
No, in between M and N.
Oh,
Okay, so you'd have to readjust the letters N through whatever it goes to. Put a new N in there, and that N would be using images of any official city logo, patch, badge, or sign on a personal web page is prohibited without the express written approval of city council or designate.
Your Honor, I think the opening sentence of paragraph M does exactly that. Creating a website or social media page that has any appearance of officially representing the city is prohibited without the express written approval of the city council or designee. I don't think we need to change anything.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that wording causes and has caused confusion in the past with numerous council members, including myself. Something as simple as posing in front of a sign can, or taking a picture with a shirt on your logo can be in violation of that. So I think it's worded appropriately.
And make it, make sure we get all the information that's been previously approved and complete in this.
Yeah. So, Your Honor, or Craig, one of you, what is the process for changing that in our policy?
Well, city council, I have to look at the records, but the city council did waive that a while back to allow anybody to use that, as I recall. For, yes.
Yeah, he just recommended, Councilman O'Donnell's recommending we add that to our ordinance. Correct?
Correct, because it is currently in the employee handbook.
Well, I think city council did some social media policy to allow the use of the city logo.
We waived it for city council members and the mayor.
I don't have it in front of me.
Just wanted to be, making sure it's
Okay.
complete.
Okay. Further discussion?
Yes, Your Honor. I have a couple other things here.
Okay.
Looking at the ordinance, I support the ordinance in its concept, but I'm not really supportive of it in the way that it is written. It has an addition to it. Most of this is already in our charter and other places in our handbooks and regulations that we have to follow, but If you were to go to section E, under, if you go to 32.91, complaint procedure, section E, 1, 2, and 3, I asked Craig to get an interpretation of this from the city attorney. This is the actual teeth of the what the city attorney talks about in his recommendation. And really, the only thing that's not really on the books already. I requested, and I pointed this out at a previous meeting, that the city attorney would be the sole judge, jury, and executioner of this ordinance. And E states, within 21 days of the receipt of the complaint, the city attorney shall, that word shall is a very important word because that means he has no choice but to do one of whatever follows. 1, issue a report including a copy of the complaint, concluding whether the facts alleged in the complaint, if true, would rise to the violation of the chapter and require the public servant named in the complaint issue a formal statement in writing and address the city attorney outlining his or her position. 2, the city attorney shall determine whether the public servant named in the complaint did commit a violation of the ethics charter and file a formal complaint with the 58th District Court, or 3, dismiss the complaint. And the city attorney's response is that I was correct in the reading the ordinance. If the complaint is not dismissed by the city attorney, then it would go to court, and then at that point it becomes a permanent public record.
Your Honor, I have one thing to say about that. Tim, when you state that, you say will go to court, and that's not the facts. The fact is he will file a formal complaint with the court. Nobody's gonna go to court. That's my point.
Okay.
Unless the court sees fit, then yeah, somebody will go to court, but that, I mean, that's what we're trying to accomplish here.
Not talking about physically going to court, but the complaint will be filed. If it's not dismissed, it will go to court.
It'll be filed with.
It will go to court for disposition.
I guess it's kind of a play on words, Tim. The way you make it sound, in my opinion, is if the city attorney sees fit, he will go to court with this, and that's not the fact. The fact is he will file the complaint with the court, and if the court sees fit, then they will do justice, correct?
It will go to court, and whether it's dismissed or whether it is by the court or whether it is acted upon, it will become a part of the permanent record. That is what the city attorney has said.
So if it goes to court, the court has the power to assess a penalty. That's what it's gonna go to court for.
No, not necessarily. On the next page, it says the court can pick up the violation if they see fit, or the city attorney can use his powers to serve discipline under penalty 32.93. Not everybody's gonna go to court if you see that. It says upon finding a violation of applicable provisions of this chapter, the district court is empowered to assess the following penalties. Is empowered to, but not necessarily needs to. Correct?
It either goes to court or it gets dismissed, and the court decides the penalty.
Well, yeah, that's what we're trying to accomplish here. We're trying to give some teeth to our ordinance, and
Yes.
if the courts are involved, then that's part of the process, Tim, but.
So if somebody were to get on their computer and mistakenly open an email that has a virus in it, it gets into the system, there's somebody files a complaint, someone could have on their permanent record, a court record of a complaint, regardless of the outcome. And I don't think that somebody making an innocent mistake on something should end up with a permanent court record. Court records can damage people's reputation, their job opportunities. I would just rather see this go to, if we're gonna have any penalty, just let the, and you want just a lawyer to decide, let him decide and not get the courts involved unless it's something serious. And that should be so noted in the ordinance. As it is right now,
Tim, this
every
doesn't.
complaint will either be dismissed or go to court. That's the way it is. They got it right here in writing.
Your Honor. Your
Yeah.
Honor. I don't see where this says it necessarily goes on your permanent record, Tim.
Right
He
here.
files a complaint
Right
with
here.
this, with the court. Well, this is an opposite, this is opposite document. I don't have access to this document. I don't
I
believe.
can send it to you.
Well, now it's a little late. But if somebody files a complaint with the court, that doesn't mean it goes on your permanent record automatically, unless
Right
you're
there.
seen, unless you are found guilty of something, why would they put it on your permanent record, Tim? And if you're acquitted of it or not found guilty of it, then I don't know. I'd have to argue that with attorney, and he's not here for me to question that. So I don't know. Sorry, I disagree with you.
So according to once it gets to the court, it becomes a permanent record. It's public knowledge. Correct.
Does it become personal on your personal record or just public record?
It's public knowledge.
Public now, but it doesn't necessarily go on your criminal record, your personal criminal record or something of that nature. So if somebody runs a background check on you, is that going to show up in their background check that somebody filed a complaint that was frivolous?
I don't know the answer to that. My guess is only if you're guilty.
Right, that's my point. And that's what we're trying to do here, is punish people for their guilt. And so that's
Wrongdoing,
exactly
yeah.
what we're trying to accomplish, Tim.
I still think the court should only be involved in serious matters, not because you simply make a mistake. You write something, inadvertently write something that is wrong. You put the wrong button on the computer, and you got a court record.
Well, I think, Tim, I see that point of view and what Jerry said too, but, we're going to leave it up to Brooke, our city attorney. And if it's something that's a little bit not as serious, I think he'll dismiss it. So it won't even get that far, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, if somebody hits the wrong button on a computer, Tim, that's why they're allowed to write him a formal statement, right? If it's an accident, he's gonna take that into account, and the court would take that into account too, as long as it's not malicious or unethical.
And we've got a lot of safeguards built into it. I mean, I did it once. I clicked the wrong thing on a city email on my, the Outlook office account. I thought I was getting rid of it, and I actually opened it. And immediately I was enrolled in remedial training by IT. Immediately, they're on it. I don't think it's going to go down the criminal route. I really don't.
Yeah. Okay. Further discussion?
Yeah, I have something.
Yeah.
Craig, when a city council, I feel like we all kind of got caught off guard with one member having information from the city attorney regarding something that we have to make a decision on tonight. When a city council member requests information from the city attorney, I'm assuming that's done through you.
That's correct.
Is the city paying for that? Is there any reason why that wasn't distributed, or any other item like that isn't distributed to all city council members, since it's affecting us?
No, should be in the future, will be.
Okay. Oh, okay. Come on up to the mic. Oh, yeah.
Hey.
I think our city attorney is not stupid, and if someone makes a mistake, he's not gonna waste his time, billable hours, on somebody clicking on the wrong thing. But also, please look at point G. In the ordinance, it says, if a complaint is filed against the city attorney and any of his or her designees, the city council shall designate a neutral body to investigate the complaint. So there is another safeguard. If you think you're being witch hunted, there is another safeguard in that a neutral body would be, where you're going to find him, I don't know, but that would be up to the attorney. So I think you have another safeguard there.
Your Honor,
Yes.
the courts certainly have got enough to do on their plate already, and I would have to believe that the only way they would take any of these proposed charges up is that if they were truly egregious. They've got plenty to do already.
Okay. Further discussion? Do you guys want to do a roll call or for this? Okay. We have a motion support, roll call vote to approve it.
Okay, Councilmember Murdoch,
Yes.
Councilmember Carlson,
Yes.
Councilmember Sias,
Yes.
Councilmember Kate,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Donnell,
No.
Councilmember Montgomery,
Yes.
Mayor Blease.
Yes. Motion carried. 7B, discussion, take action if appropriate to approve a bid for tree removals in the city right of way from Atkin and Schaefer for $12,000. Craig?
So the Public Works Department goes around town and notices trees that are dying, limbs are falling down. They mark them. We went out for bids. We had a number of bids come in this time, which was kind of nice to see. Low bids out of Atkin Schaefer, and they're out of Fruitport. Public Works Supervisor recommends going with this company. And as part of the program here, if who's ever hired, we'll ask them to get that limb on Fourth and Oak.
Okay, good. Have we used this Atkin and Schaefer before?
No, we have not.
Oh, okay. We usually use that Toad's Tree Service or
Yeah,
Tom's, but they were low bid.
Your Honor?
Yep.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we approve the bid for the tree removal in the city right of ways from Atkin and Schaefer for $12,000.
Motion support. Further discussion? Yes.
Question for Craig, Your Honor. Craig, are they grinding the stumps or removing stumps?
the
or-
stumps will be ground and then Public Works will restore.
Okay.
Okay. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. 7C, discussion, take action if appropriate to approve an agreement with the Republic Services to provide a one-day residential trash pickup on Saturday, May 20th.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that we approve the agreement with Republic Services to provide a one-day residential trash pickup on Saturday, May 20th.
I'll support.
Motion support. Further discussion? Craig, this is the only bid we got?
That's correct. We sent out 4 or 5 bids, and this is the only company that responded. Republic Services has done the trash pickup for a number of years, and they've done a nice job for us.
Yeah, we've used them before. Okay. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. 7D, discussion, take action if appropriate to approve the appointment of Gary Post to the Recreation Commission for unexpired term ending July 1st, 2025.
Your Honor? Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
Your Honor, make a motion.
I'll support.
All right. Motion support. Further discussion?
Your Honor,
Is he present?
he's not. He came and talked at our last recreation committee meeting. I think he will be an asset to our committee. I am just curious, Your Honor, have we always put for an unexpired term?
So it's not a term that, our regular 3-year term. It's a term that is vacant. And the term started in 2022. So it's the position is a 3-year term that started in 2022, but it's never been filled.
Terminology.
But yeah, you know, I think Gary's been involved in Kitchell Lindquist. In
Yeah.
the past, he's probably introduced himself to all of you at the Christmas party. I think he'll be a great asset.
Okay, I agree. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. E, discussion take action if appropriate to approve the appointment of Matt Hoppel to the Board of Review as an alternate member for an unexpired term ending July 1st, 2024.
Your Honor,
Yes.
move that we approve the appointment of Matt Hoppel to the Board of Review as an alternate member for the unexpired term ending July 1st, 2024.
Or,
Motion support. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Yes.
Just on the previous appointment, Mr. Hooper will not be able to participate in the board review until he takes the training, and he's aware of that.
Oh, okay. When's the next training?
It's unknown at this time. The board review just went through training in the spring to get ready for the March board review, so I'm not sure we're gonna have any more this year, but we'll keep an eye out for it.
Oh, okay. Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Did we already do that? Oh, okay.
You liked it twice.
All right, moving on. 7F, work session, term limits. Craig, there's some information in the packet here.
Right, there's some information in the current policy and the charter that outlines the term limits, that no position can be served by the same person for more than 8 successive years of elected terms of office.
Honor?
Yes.
First of all, I don't really agree with term limits, but they're in our charter, so I think that they should be enforced. And the way I read this section, it says 8 successive years of elected terms in office. The same position for more than 8 successive years of elected terms of office. And I think instead of successive, it should say total years of elected terms in office after the 8. So it would say council member or mayor shall hold the same position for not more than 8 total years of elected terms in office. Well, not the term limit, so. That's their term, yeah.
Basically, right now, mayor's term limit is 2 years. You can re-elect the mayor, right? So this is saying that they can be in a position for 8 years and then take a 2-year break and then do another 8 years, where Councilman Sias is saying it should just be 8 total years. And I would agree with that, in the spirit of, term limits and getting, other active members.
I agree. Craig, was there a reason why they chose to word it this way when they, was it in fear of not enough participation so that maybe we could, somebody could reapply? That's the only benefit I could see of this staying the way it is, but it doesn't really fit the term of a term limit if you can serve your term, get out of politics for 2 years, and then start a term all over again.
Well, I think it used to read that you could only serve 8 years at a position. So for instance, if a council member right now was gonna vacate their seat, city council has the option to appoint someone to fill that seat. And so that person could serve a year and then get reelected and reelected again. And so if you didn't have that in there, anytime there was a vacancy in the office, it'd always be in mid-year, it wouldn't be an election to fill that position, it'd always be appointed by city council.
Greg, how often historically has that happened? I mean,
It was done in 2001, this amendment. I'm not sure before
yeah.
that.
And Jerry, do I understand correctly that, let's say, somebody on this council right now was finishing their second term? Would the change you want bar them from running for mayor for the next year?
Not at all, because it.
Because I'm
it
not
states-
understanding exactly what you're saying, I
Yeah,
guess.
it states council member or mayor, so in the section. So council member or mayor are separate. So you could be in a council for 8 years and then serve 8 years as mayor as
I
well.
thought I heard you saying 8 years total, no matter what.
Well, in either position, right.
Oh,
You can
either
run 8
position.
years
Okay,
as a
not
council member or
aggregate.
8 years
Oh,
as mayor.
okay,
Yep,
all right.
yep,
Not that I'm gonna run for.
I mean, I would,
You're welcome to it, yeah.
I would be good doing 8 years total for any elected position.
Yeah, that's what I thought I heard you say.
You know, otherwise, you know, then you get into, you know, a situation where you could have a proxy taking over as mayor or whatever situation we could find ourselves in. And, I mean, let's just make it black and white and can't hold office for more than 8 years.
The problem I have with that is we have had positions in the past that were not filled by election. We did not have enough people interested in running for office. And the position was filled by a person who had previously served in office. They were appointed to the position. And quite frankly, I can see in the future a lot of people that are not going to want to get involved in politics, not involved in serving their government. And term limits in and of itself is not a good issue, because you get somebody who is truthfully, the first year or two that you're in office, it's a learning time. And by the time you get to a point where you're comfortable with the office, you're comfortable with making decisions, you have the knowledge of how to do things, then you're done. And right now, yeah, maybe we have enough people. But what happens if, okay, you come to a point where nobody wants to serve, or you don't have enough people apply, you have an open position, but you got somebody that wants to serve, but they can't because they already served their time? And what happens when eventually everybody that wants to serve has served?
Yeah, I mean,
you run out of people that are gonna.
I think just recently, we've been, people are more anxious to serve. But when I first started looking at this, that wasn't the case at all.
yeah, I mean,
Nobody was interested.
but I mean, that's one of our council goals, right? That's one of our established goals, is to get more participation from our community, both in boards, and I would argue in council too. And so if we're not going to take our goals seriously, maybe we need to be held to those better.
Well, it also, term limits, it's kind of the lazy man's way out of getting having people leave office. They're termed out instead of getting out there. It doesn't stop people from running for office. It's up to the people to decide who is elected in office. And if you got two people out there, and one person, just because somebody's in office doesn't mean they're going to get reelected. You got somebody much better in place, the people should elect them.
I think you'll find people intimidated by incumbents often. I don't think it would hurt anything to say you can do 8 years and no more. I think you can make an impact in 8 years, and it just prevents it ensures we have people that are continuing to want to serve for the right reasons and not career aspirations or, career politicians.
Your Honor. The term limits here certainly create a churn to bring in fresh talent and fresh ideas, which I think is a very good thing to do. Certainly term limits haven't worked out all that well in the state legislature, but there you're dealing with career people, and once they get the flow of lobbyist money there, they could just keep on getting reelected and essentially can't get elected out of office. We don't have that problem here. The reason we're doing this is to create a churn. It's not to create a situation where good people couldn't run. It's a matter of good people get out of the way. We want to hear some fresh ideas. And it would only be for a 2-year period. You could run again in 2 years.
So that's what we're saying.
Well, not if we maximum it 8 years total for council or mayor.
Have we already decided that we're all in general
No, we're
agreement?
still talking.
No.
Excuse me. Have we already decided that decided that we're in favor of term limits, and now we're trying to decide on the framework of how we're going to do term limits? Or are we just talking generally about are term limits a good idea?
Well, we got term limits now, so it's just
Right.
not, what Jerry said is he wanted, instead of successive years, do it 8 total years, possibly, at council and or mayor. So, but the only thing I see with that is, I'll use Will as an example because he's a young guy, is he does 2 4-year terms on council, he's done. He can never run for council again, ever.
But I can retire early and let someone else.
But he could do mayor if.
I can
if we
encourage
do-
other people to run.
But what
right,
if
and
you
that-
wanted to though? You couldn't.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right.
Right.
But I can still participate in boards, right? I can still be active
Yeah.
in my community. We have, 2 formal council members here today that are active in our community that aren't elected, right? So
Yeah.
it doesn't, just because you hit a term limit, doesn't mean you stop caring about Ferrysburg, you stop being involved.
Sure.
You can meet with candidates, you can encourage candidates, you can, coach and mentor candidates. And, Tim, to your point, I get it that your first year or 2 is tough and you're learning a lot, right? But that's where we need to do better at, coaching and mentoring and helping each other learn the ropes instead of going after each other, right?
Talked to many other municipal leaders across the state over the last 7 years. I am not aware of another small city that has term limits. We're the only ones that have term that I know of. I'm sure there might be 1 or 2 other ones, but for the very fact that there may become a time where you're not going to get people that want to get involved. And right now, the culture we're in, people do not want to get involved. They're all stuck in their homes doing their own little things, and they want other people to make the decisions for them. Happen 4 years from now, may not happen 8 years or 12 years, but eventually down the road, you're going to have trouble finding people to fill the spots, and you're going to have people around there that want to fill them but can't because they already served their 8 years. So I don't think you should limit a person's service to their city. I'd actually like to see term limits go away, but That's just my own personal opinion, but I don't think we should limit the number of years that you can, in whatever capacity you want to serve.
Connor?
Yeah.
I don't really like the idea of 8 total years for city council or mayor. I think city council and the mayor position should be held separate. 8 years on council, and then if you want, you can run for mayor for up to 8 years. I think 8 years for mayor is a long time. I would be more comfortable with 6 years as mayor. I think 8 years as mayor, that's a long mayorship. That's, you know. Yeah, that's 4 2-year terms. But, and the reason I say that is just because of the experience, you know. After serving 6 to 8 years on the council, you know just about everything that's going on with the city, and most of the stuff we do is repetition. So you're familiar with all the tree trimming services, all the contractors, the way things are done. And I think it would be detrimental to the city to say, well, after 8 years of serving on council and all that knowledge, we're done with you and you can't run for mayor at this point. I don't know. I'm not for that. I think they should be held separate, 8 years of council or 8 years mayor.
That's my opinion would be that, you know, where you see that detrimental impact, I see the positive benefit of you have fresh set of eyes looking at things. You have people that come in with an inquisitive and questioning attitude and a curious mind where they're asking, instead of having people that have been on council for 8 years and a mayor for another 8 years, you know, that are saying, oh yeah, $12,000, no big deal for tree trimming. You get someone that says, wow, you know, that's actually a lot of money. Maybe we should look at this option, or maybe we should talk about this option. And, you know, there's I think we'll see a lot of that, bringing in fresh ideas and new opinions and just a new set of eyes.
My opinion, though, I think that's left up to the freshman councilman coming in to council. You know, I don't think the mayor should have a fresh set of eyes. I think the mayor should know how things are being run and how things are being done. You know, fresh set of eyes are great for junior councilmen coming into the council and as they come up, you know, but I don't know. I would still like to keep these separate. And 8 years as mayor, like I said before, I think that's a little extensive. I think 6 years would be more than a term for mayor, you know, and that gives council members time to get experience and then run after that mayorship has term they're successfully used up their term. So yeah, I don't know. 8 years is a long time to be mayor. I get that, but I still think we need to hold these council member and mayor separate.
One of the good example of what happens with term limits, not just term limits, but what happened in the state with the redistricting, also heard it. We lost a lot of seasoned legislatures, a lot of them. A lot of people that knew what was going on in Lansing, knew the background and a lot of the situations that are and the stuff that's going on. And when you lose the seasoned veterans, you have nobody left to mentor. You have freshman people coming in that are at the mercy of the lobbyists. The money looks good. Some people, they're in it for the money. You know, a lobbyist comes up to you, you're a freshman in legislature, and they go, hey, I'll give you all this money if you do this for me. I have nobody telling me that's wrong, that this is not somebody I should be dealing with, this is how I should, I might want to look at another avenue to take. You're leaving the lambs to the slaughter. And that's happened. Our new legislature, I'm really concerned with how it's going to turn out because we got a lot of new people. We lost a lot of really good seasoned representatives and senators. And after the end of my term, I'm looking to retire. I'm getting done just about it. So, but in the future, you got somebody like Will. Okay, Will's got a lot of years left ahead of him. Let don't limit his run to 8 years. Wants to mentor people and get them be the voice of reason and sanity of this council, what goes on up here, then that's what should happen.
Right, but I mean, anyone, including myself, there's nothing stopping me from speaking up or mentoring or working with our council as not being elected, right? I can be a member of our city and speak up just like everyone here does. I can mentor council members just like anybody can. I can participate in boards. It's just saying I can't hold a seat in the office, right? And one thing that we do have that benefits us as a council is that we stagger our elections. So you're never going to have 7 brand new people up here. You're not going to be in that situation, right? Unless everybody walks off, right? It's just not going to happen. So it's more important that we as a council are looking and pulling people and encouraging them into public service.
Several years ago in another community, I was approached coming from my car to a store and asked to sign a petition about term limits for local council members. And I said, no. I said, why not? I said, we already have term limits. They're called elections. If you don't like what's going on, run for office. They didn't like my answer. And I still think that is the answer at local level. Local, county, if you don't like what's going on, challenge somebody in an election. And I used to think that way at all levels, but more and more with what I see going on at state levels and at especially the national level, where you get people in Congress that have been there for 40 terms, something's got to give someday, But at local level, I don't see a need for term limits, and that's what I'm sticking to.
Debbie, what's your thoughts?
So I ran. I did it. And that's, I was watching things and I got mad. So here I am. And that's why I do kind of agree with Bill that way. And I never want to lose Will.
Hey, what if he moves?
Stay there forever.
Might move to Grand Haven.
Yeah.
Rich, what's your thoughts on term limits? Yay or nay?
I know this is just a work session, so we can't make motions.
Right.
Make seconds, but I would second Debbie's comments. I can see the features and benefits of both, of what both council people have stated. So, am I in favor of term limits? Not necessarily on the city level. I can see the benefit being the churn, causing a churn, because someone could run after a 2-year period again. So that to me is the trade-off for term limit.
Now, Mayor, I'll use you as an example. So if you choose not to run for mayor, you start your 8 years over as council, right? Because you've served 2 years as mayor? Because, that's how
the way it's written here, I would say so.
It says nobody shall hold the same position for more than 8 consecutive years of elected terms of office, so I mean, I would interpret that as,
Scott could serve
Scott could-
8 years total as mayor.
but I'm saying if he doesn't run in this election, he can run for council, and he has another 8 years of council now.
That's correct. If he puts his hat in for a council member, he could be 8 years.
Our list said he already, did you do 2 terms already, Scott, or just 1 term?
2.5,
2.5.
1.5,
1.5.
something like that.
One, yeah, one appointed short term and then elected 4-year term and then 2-year break, then another appointed 4-year term. And then elected 2-year term for mayor. Oh, yeah, it's
I
up to
would
you
say-
guys. I don't.
Like I said, I would love to eliminate the term limits, but that's, let the people decide, but we got term limits. Let it sit as it is. Work.
I disagree. I don't agree with term limits on a local level either, but they're in our charter, so we should make them effective. Right now, I mean, it's a wasted section basically in our charter. I mean, why even have term limits? If you're out for 2 years and you can come back and, yeah, I mean, what's even the purpose? So, I think we should change it to no council member or mayor shall hold the same position for more than 8 total years of elected terms in office. Or if you want to make the council and the mayor the same 8 total years, or you want to keep them separate, I guess that's up to council. Or maybe make the mayor 6 years rather than 8 years. That's my suggestion. I think 8 years as mayor is a long time.
Yeah, and it's up to the public. They're out there voting, so.
Well, public
You
will
know.
vote on this, right?
Yeah, if we do any changes to the charter, what goes to council first by a 3/5 vote. And then it has to go to the general election for the public to vote on it. Is that correct, Craig?
That's correct. There's a process that needs to be done, and
Yeah.
it takes a little bit of time to get the resolutions and approval from the state.
Again, my concern, what happens when we run out of people that want to serve?
Mayor can appoint.
If
There's
There's a
an
lot of
applicant, though.
people that want to serve but are fearful of elections. They don't want that fight. So I don't know, Tim. I wasn't in office when this section was written. I would have protested it then. I don't think term limits are wise in a local government, especially one as small as Ferrysburg. There's a small pool of folks to pick out of that really want to spend the time and the effort to do this job. You're right, but it's here, so let's make it effective. That's my only point. At some
I
point,
do think-
somebody wanted this in our charter. Do you remember? You weren't even the city manager then, were you, Craig, when this was?
94,
Yeah.
1994.
Well, the first
yeah.
one was 94, yeah.
Yep, then
So
you amend it, 2001.
was this a city or a citizen initiative to put this? I mean, term limits had to come from somewhere. I can't believe that.
So in 94, the charter amendment was, no elected official of the city shall hold the same elected position for more than 8 successive years after December 1st, 1994, counting only time in office after November. And in 2001, it was changed, so it would be successive years of elected office. So if there was a vacancy in the middle of a term, that position would not always be filled by city council.
So Jerry, if we, cause some of us, don't even like term limits, I mean, would you be in support of not having any term limits at all?
Well, I think that's something we'd have to leave to the citizens. I personally don't support them, but, there's a reason they're here. I don't know what that is. I don't remember when term limits become effective in the charter, but, I think that's a question we should ask the electorate.
I think if you ask that, it should be, because the office of mayor is elected separate from the council. It should be 8 years for council and 8 years for mayor. So that might be one thing we'll have to do. Because they are two separate elected offices.
I agree with Tim. We should make that, determination. I like 6 years. I think 3 terms, 3 2-year terms is sufficient for mayor. I think 4 is kind of extensive. But as far as council members go, 8 years makes sense because they're 4-year terms. So, but mayor, I don't see 8 years making sense. I think it's too long. I'd change it to 6 personally.
I'm just wondering what's going on there.
Light bulbs.
Let's hear it, Rich.
Your Honor, can we ask, is there any public comments maybe?
It can't be during the work session.
Oh, it can't? Okay, take that back.
Sorry. Bill said he didn't like term limits. Me, I don't really, I see both points of view, but I wouldn't do term limits. Tim, you said no term limits. Rich, Will would like term limits of maybe 8 years, and Jerry. Debbie's on the fence. I don't. Separate. Okay.
I question whether the juice is worth the squeeze. Craig, what is it? What would this little foray into leading up to putting this on a general election, so we don't have a special election? What's it going to cost us?
If we put on November election, there won't be no additional cost.
But it looks like we have to get the city attorney involved.
That's correct.
So it's going to cost us something.
Yes. He's just checking the language, sending it into the state.
I would just like to leave it as it is. Like I say, it's not really something that's make that big of a splash. I agree. There's everybody's making good points. All good points, but we've got some bigger fish to fry out there. We got infrastructure we got to look at. Other city business, I think we could. That's what I'd like to see. Is just can we separate the mayor and the council?
Current language of this.
You can't change the charter without involving people.
But right now, they're viewed separately.
Right.
That's up to the public. If, they don't want the same council members on or the same mayor on for that long a period, it's up to it's up to the general public if they're going to vote them in or vote them out.
Yeah, I
Comes
guess
down
my,
to-
my
I'm
only,
sorry, when it comes down to it, I'm happy with the way it's written. I don't see a need for a change.
yeah, my only concern of it is, you know, it's here, but
Yeah.
it's ineffective, basically. I mean, yeah,
Kinda.
I
it
mean-
kinda is, kinda, you know.
yeah, somebody, you know, yeah.
It's poorly worded.
If we're gonna have something in the charter, let's make it effective. Let's not just leave a bunch of, you know, loopholes is what we're stuck with now, in my opinion, so. And it could come up to question, I mean, if Scott decides to run for council again, he could run another 8 years, and that'd be a total of, what, Scott, 12, 14?
I can't even add that high.
16 years
No,
on
I'm not gonna do that anyway. Don't worry, don't worry.
I'm the only insane one here.
Yeah, maybe Tim would, but not me,
Yeah, Tim would.
not me.
I guess it's up to you guys. I see a loophole here, and it's something I think we need to, fill. That's my only point.
I am in agreement with Jim. Worried that same people.
I mean, it's, you know, Tim and Rich are the only ones that have been here the longest besides me. So there's 4 new members that have been here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be
mean-
the, you know, address the elephant in the room that, you know, I've had many people come, not many, but I've had several people, residents come up to me and they won't run because our elections get nasty sometimes. Such a small town. Politics.
Yeah.
Eat it.
Like I said, you should have seen the House of Representatives go.
Lou.
That was a very interesting. Watch it sometime on TV. They are live broadcast.
Okay, well, let's move on. G, work session.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Community energy representative isn't available tonight. We talked at our meeting on Thursday, and Jerry will give a better update on this when we go around for us to speak. But he's prepared to share with the council. Can we table this?
Sure. Who wants to make a
I'll make a
motion to table?
To table it.
I'll support.
Okay. Motion support to table the work session,
Excuse
community
me?
energy plan? Oh,
Table until when?
He's
till the next,
So
the
the
next.
next month?
That'll be next month, when April 1st. No, I'll be.
I just want to make sure the first.
No, I'll
meeting
be
in
absent
April.
from that meeting. I have a surgery on the 28th of March, so 1st of April is not the best. Maybe the second meeting of April
We do the second meeting in March.
or second. Yeah, we could do a next meeting if we can get on the agenda.
March, is he available March
On the
20th?
20th? Yeah, he's available on the 20th. Yep. All right, we
Work
do it
better
on
for
March
me, too.
20th then. That'd be fine.
So this would be a presentation, not a work session then?
I'd like to see a presentation followed by a work session if we can. But then we have,
Well,
I guess we don't need the work session. We can talk on the presentation.
yeah, I would like to see a work session after the presentation personally, because he's got some things he'd like to share with the council and the community of how this has looked in the past and how it could look here. And I think that information is important before council decides on whether to participate or not. So,
So you're looking for a presentation and discussion for city council to take some kind of action?
yeah, at a work session, yeah, and then we'll follow up.
No, so we'll have to take action at some point because they're gonna ask for a budget item from us, right? I think they said $7,000. So it's based on every community is committing a budget line item to support this based on their population. So I think Grand Haven did 20 or
5,000.
25,000. So ours is closer to 7, but before we take that for action, I'd like to be able to have a work session and discuss it.
Okay, so, motion, who supported to table it?
I did.
Jerry to table it until March 20th?
That'd be fine, if it's okay with Craig. Get on the agenda.
Okay, all in favor to table and put it as a work session, March 20th. Community Energy Plan, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, 8, public comments. Regina?
In regard to term limits, I think they were originally created to prevent the formation of an oligarchy, which is a small group of people continually controlling any kind of governmental entity. And I think you have to have term limits. Otherwise, you're going to have the old boys network controlling what's going on. What's going on in this, the local, the county, the state, and national politics today, we need to have some kind of control over transparency and control and manipulation of the governmental process. To me, it's a question of not do you have them, but are they consecutive years or are they total years? And I think that's the key. You can maybe be on council for 8 consecutive years and come back, or you can only be on council 8 years, done, you're out. And you can do other things. You can volunteer in the community. You can, as Mr. Montgomery said, you can mentor people. I'm a really lousy politician, but I'm a hell of a public servant. I'm very outspoken, and I have no desire to be involved in politics. I do have desire to be involved in my city, and I do that in other ways other than being an elected official. And I think that you really need term limits of some kind to control that formation of the old boys network.
Do you remember when this part of the charter was changed?
I do
Were you
not.
around for that?
If it was 2001, was it? I wasn't
Okay.
on council then.
Okay.
I waited until 2005, and then I was appointed. After the recall, I wanted there to be no idea that I had been involved in that to get involved.
I just wondering about the timeline, because it's not clear as you read through this when
I don't
what
know,
was changed.
but I always thought it was total. I thought once you were done, but I guess that's not true. And I think that could be how you control it, how you make it viable.
Thank you. Any more public comments? Yes, sir.
I was a poli-sci major in college, but I failed because I never wound up in public service working for the state legislature or the foreign service. So anyway, a couple things I want to remember from my college days was one of the things they did mention is that 2 things, and it's fascinating to look at your discussion about term limits versus not term limits. One of the things that came up is that, okay, with term limits, you're looking at the possibility of, for example, somebody's only in for 2 months, whatever, and that gets more to the state level. Is that okay? The bureaucracy knows this guy's out in 2 years. We can stall it and put it off if you don't want to do what he's doing. The bureaucracy can go down and right. But I mean, that was one of the arguments against having the term limits thing. Now, and then your other arguments were like, okay, what do we look at as far as if we make it unlimited? Well, the other observation I'd make is at that time that when you look, studies were done looking at city, state, and federal. Much as the federal is decried, the most corrupt area of government was considered a local government. That's something to bear in mind too, is that as you went up the ladder, the feds are less corrupt at that time in the studies that they looked at. And I just thought I'd throw that in, so here's something else that you But the other thing I could say is, like, now if we did look at merger, and of course it takes 2 to dance, I mean, that increases the pool of applicants, elected positions, that matter, and walk around that. But I just wanted to like that was an appropriate point to touch base on. So thank you.
All right, thanks, Dan.
Okay.
Okay, any more public comments? Moving on. Report, city manager,
No report?
council members. Debbie?
We meet next Monday to move forward, trying to plan the Easter egg hunt and also planning the 4th of July parade.
Oh, cool. Do you guys have still some openings on beautification?
Oh, we do.
A bunch.
Oh, yes.
Three or four?
Yeah, would you say, Craig, at least 3?
Ooh, okay. Alrighty. Jerry?
I guess I have no report. I think we went over everything with the energy plan, so I'm good.
Okay. Bill?
Question for Craig. I've got your latest enforcement list, just, there's only 3 records on it. I've got a question about a property I see every day. It's on the corner of 174th and North Shore, straight across the street from the fire barn. Is that property occupied?
No, it's not occupied.
Because it's a mess.
So there's,
Is there anything we can do about it to get it cleaned up and torn down or fixed or whatever?
we've had contact with the property owner numerous times. We just don't get any action from him.
Okay. Other than that, that's all I got.
Okay. Will?
Like Councilman Sias said, we had a community energy task force meeting Thursday, went well. Expect a presentation at the next meeting, and other than that, no further comment.
Okay. Rich?
No report.
Tim?
The board review meets tomorrow for the organizational meeting. I am suspecting that we're going to have a lot of people coming in for explanations on their taxes, and it's the best response is going to be thanks. This is the one time where the Headley Amendment can be thanked, because if it hadn't been, it could have been not 5%, but 7.9%. So that's about the only time that I really like the Headley Amendment. Is the
Yes, we currently have, it seems Tuesday evenings most open, but Monday and the beginning of Tuesday are booked.
last couple of years, we haven't had a lot of people that come in. That we're gonna have a lot this year.
Yeah, I think there's 2 openings Monday and maybe 4 on Tuesday.
Hands gonna get sore. But on your point about consolidation, one of the just to let you know, our fire department, we have an auto aid with Crockery and Spring Lake, and as part of the insurance program, we are all considered for structure fires and commercial fires as being one department. They group all together, so our aerial ladder counts for Spring Lake and Crockery, and their tenders count for us as well, even though we don't use them in this city. The other thing is, I hold a high value to representing the members of this city and going to events on my own dime, getting out there, showing the Ferrysburg flag. Just to let you know, I will be going to the MML conference on my own dime. And the reason I'm going is because I feel the education and the internet or the networking is so important for the.
Okay. The only thing I have is I saw that Saturday, June 24th, there's going to be some bicycle riders coming from Grand Rapids over to Coast Guard Park in that Grand Fondo bicycle race. So I think that's kind of cool to have them ride all the way from Grand Rapids all the way to the 80 miles to the lake and back. So, end of report.
Motion adjourned.
Motion adjourned.
We don't have tacos on your side?
I'm sorry, I didn't know that was a question.
Yeah, are those open? I've got pizza ones, I've got beer,
I
I've
like
got hot dogs.
Yes.
No, 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 no.
Yeah, keep them guessing.
Property